I had this recently. I represented a client before appeals, and the IRS revenue agent's report said, well, over 3 years, the taxpayer has multiple adjustments that result in $2 million and change dollars of additional tax. I presented a protest letter and I advocated for the taxpayer in appeals, and the $2,100,000 additional tax went down to about $2,000.
Wow.
Yeah. And there, the appeals officer looked at the protest letter and all the arguments that I presented, all with the focus that if we go to court, the government faces significant hazards.
Hazards meaning they have a risk of not prevailing.
Right.
And using all these resources to pursue something that they're very unlikely to get.
Right. And so as a litigator, what I did was I created about 20 some volumes of organized volumes of the record along with supporting authorities. And I said, here's what I would present on behalf of the taxpayer in court. It's overwhelming, the information. I don't know why the agent did not consider all this. Perhaps it was because the taxpayer presented in a disorganized fashion and the agent just said, I can't make sense of this. I'm not sure exactly why, but here's information. The taxpayer's going to win. The appeals officer can either be convinced by it and concede, as in my case.
Right.
Or the appeals officer may say, I'm not convinced, and therefore I'm going to sustain and support what the revenue agent did in audit. It can happen one of two ways: full concession, full support of the IRS, or something in between.
Something in the middle. Uh-huh.
Yeah. And then I'd say generally 90% of cases resolve at appeals. So It's always a good idea to go to IRS appeals.
If you don't like the outcome of the audit, write your letter of protest.
You should always avail yourself of that opportunity and present the reasons why the IRS agent perhaps was not competent or didn't look at the facts as well as he or she should have. So if that's the case, what's called litigation hazards are assessed by the appeals officer. And then there's a settlement offer that's presented, and hopefully that resolves the case. Okay. If that's not resolved, then the next opportunity for the taxpayer is to go to court. The taxpayer can go to one of two venues: U.S. tax court, which is a prepayment forum. So you can go to court without having to pay the tax first.
Oh, okay.
Or the taxpayer can then go to U.S. district court, and that is not a prepayment forum.
You got to pay the tax.
You've got to pay. And that's the only way you get into that court. And most taxpayers are aligned with the prepayment forum. So they don't want to pay because they don't feel that they owe the additional tax. They just want the court to review their case.
Sure. Okay, so if you, in this appeal, you get a result that you're not happy with, but you're willing to accept it, that's the end of it. The IRS can't then go to court. The taxpayer is the only one who can push it to the litigation.
That's exactly right. Yeah. Once the IRS makes a determination, the only person that can take the matter to court is the taxpayer.
Thank you for joining us today for another episode of Absolute Trust Talk Live. If you enjoyed listening in, then don't forget to subscribe. You can find us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you may listen by searching Absolute Trust Talk. While you're there, we would also love for you to leave us a review. And then why not share your favorite episodes with family, friends, or colleagues too? You can find all of our shows and corresponding show notes by visiting absolutetrustcounsel.com. You'll also find a variety of other free resources, including our ebooks, videos, blogs, presentations, and more. If you need help with your estate planning or administration, we also offer a free discovery call to help get the process started. You can find more information on booking your session by visiting absolutetrustcounsel.com/scheduling. Don't forget to keep an eye out for our next live episode. If you join us for the broadcast, you can submit questions during the show. But if not, don't worry. You can always get in touch with us by sending a quick message to info@absolutetrustcounsel.com. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you soon.